Cognitive dissonance is when someone is given new information that conflicts with a current belief system or a current way of thinking of something. And so the new information conflicts with what they already know or what they think they already know, and it causes them to have like a mental lapse, and they can't accept the new information. And there's levels to cognitive dissonance because to a certain extent it's natural because you're trying to protect the current worldview that you have. So we're all going through cognitive dissonance through phases of our life, and it's natural to do that. Actually, it's important to do that because if you're like a baby growing up, you're constantly learning new information that throws away beliefs that you had on the previous days. So like if you have the same beliefs about the world at 30 that you did at 3 years old in preschool, you just are not very bright. You haven't grown up. You haven't shed the layers of certain things if you have the same mindset at 30 that you had at 3. So cognitive dissonance makes sense to a certain point. But some people, they get so locked into the way they're viewing things, the way that they believe the world is, that when they're presented with something that's actually like very factual about the world, but it like strikes a nerve, they tend to dismiss it. They tend to throw it away because it conflicts with so much of their worldview or what they've attached their identity to. So when we're talking about cognitive dissonance in terms of MGTOW and red pill and the manosphere, a lot of people have cognitive dissonance with these topics because it goes against the blue pill narrative. It goes against like the Disney ideal of the world and of relationships. So if someone grows up believing that women are princesses and that they can do no wrong, someone talks about like MGTOW and they talk about the problems with marriage and how yes, the man can have a negative impact on the relationship, but also the woman can too. It takes two to tango. And so discussing the issues of where women can impact the man, sometimes people go into cognitive dissonance because they've believed so much of like the feminist narrative up to a certain point that they just immediately go to like, oh, sexist or oh, misogynist, because that's just like that's how they're like programmed to think about it. Like they're programmed to think about like, oh, you must have just had like one bad experience with one girl, therefore that's why you're MGTOW. But it's like you try to explain to these guys like, I don't think that you've like talked to many people that have gone through marriages, like, or even a girl too that like is against MGTOW, or guys, just whoever, just any person that kind of has a negative reaction to people that are talking about MGTOW professionally and seriously. The reason they go against it is because they have this this narrative in their mind that like the woman can do no wrong and nothing bad has ever happened in the marriage because of the woman. So when you look at these people, and sometimes it's like I don't think they've met like an older man that's had his assets taken or can't see his kids, or he got cheated on and didn't know about it, or just anything. When it comes to what MGTOW talking points usually are, people just throw it out. It goes against their way of thinking, what they were taught to believe, what they thought the world was. It's kind of like too like talking about it where using her open hypergamy, how a woman can get tired of the marriage and for whatever reason, finances or attraction, health, whatever, so she can divorce with no consequence, end up taking the assets, and then she can go with a different man, and the guy can get screwed over in terms of his house is taken, his money, just his emotions stripped from him, like who he thought his wife was or what they were going to be long term. So men can be very negatively affected by women in the same way that women can be negatively affected by men. And so when people have one way of thinking with the world like it's a one-way street, you present the other side and people go into cognitive dissonance. Same thing with the red pill. Most people are very blue pill, and they kind of just follow their structure. They follow their paradigm to a T. I've talked about this concept on this channel before where people kind of stay in their box, they stay in their lane. So for me, growing up in San Diego, it's like me just always thinking, oh, the world is just sunny and it's oceans and water, and it's always like a perfect day outside. And what do you mean there's snow? Like, it just like, it's like having that mentality at like 30, like you're 30 and you're from San Diego, but you haven't realized that like it snows in New York during the winter. Like people have to like shovel their driveway, and sometimes as you're shoveling your driveway, the snow falls as you're shoveling it, so you can't even keep up. Now you're snowed in, car won't start. So that's like something that people deal with in certain climates in the winter, and it'd be like me in my 30s going like what are you talking about, like it's sunny out, like it's November here in San Diego, and it's like wearing short sleeves. I could go to the beach right now if I wanted to, but like not understanding that the other person just lives somewhere else. It's like the same thing with blue pill and red pill. People are just on their track based on what they know and what they were taught, and they don't want to think outside of that, because for one, they think it's going to make them look stupid, or they've attached their identity to certain things for so many years that the older they get, they don't want to completely like reshape their entire worldview. Like how dare you tell me that I was living a lie for this many years? So like it's kind of like a kid learning a new language. The kid can learn it easier when they're young and their brain's developing to learn that second language, but then like you get to like 70 and the brain is in a different place, and so a 70-year-old is not going to pick up a new language in the same way that like an 8-year-old might pick that up. And it goes with ideals and beliefs. Like someone was a certain religion their whole life, and they just meet someone who was raised in a different religion, and instead of being mature about it, instead of trying to seek understanding and really try to understand the other individual, they just lash out like, oh, you're praying to the wrong God, or you have it wrong, or your parents are crazy, they don't know what they're talking about. But like apparently you lived like the right way, or your parents and community had it right, everyone else had it wrong, but like you don't have the maturity to see it, because if someone brings up that point, they take it as like you're calling into question their entire life up until that point, like what they've believed in their religion up until that point. Like you just saying that, hey, this other person has a different religion, do they now have to contemplate, is their God even correct? Is their entire religion up into this point in their life, is that even the world truth? So the older they get, the more stubborn they are about seeing it, because they're not trying to like look back on like that many years of just like living something that may not be true. So it's the same thing with like politics. It's someone has their view, like they're conservative or they're liberal. A lot of times too, just from their upbringing, like they're gonna gravitate towards like what their family is and people around them. And so someone is just like on a different side, has a different opinion, and they think the person's crazy, they think the person's stupid, like everybody's an idiot except for them. And it's just like, if someone just has like a point or perspective, it could be wrong, it could be off base depending on what we're talking about, but like you could also be wrong or off base, or maybe both people are right from their own perspective, or maybe both people are wrong from their own perspective. Like there's a huge gray area there, but people don't open their mind to have that connection and like try to seek common ground. So like I'm saying, when most people are blue pill, someone brings up like a red pill topic, and they go into cognitive dissonance because they have to look at human beings differently, or women differently, or like their own girlfriend differently, their own wife differently. Like you bring up a red pill concept and the blue pill person goes, my girl would never do that, my wife would never do that. And it's just like, then they look at you like you're saying something bad. Like I've mentioned before, like me selling this tie-dye in San Diego for this nonprofit. Like today I'm at the San Diego Zoo, and I meet women from all over the world all the time, that just come up and they're on vacation or whatever, and just passing by at the beach or at the zoo, and sometimes they have boyfriends back home or husbands back home, or sometimes their husband is there, and it's she's not just like your wife or your girlfriend. I'm just gonna keep it at that. But like these dudes will look at you, something you said, and they're just like, how dare you say that? That's my wife you're talking about. That's my girl. And it's just like, dude, you just don't get it, right? Like nobody wants to like see themselves as like the fool or the chump, or being the person that's like being withheld from certain information. So no one ever wants to believe that their girl finds another guy attractive also, or like they're in this marriage for 40 years. There's no way that their wife has ever slept with another guy. There's just no possible way. It's just not possible. It's out of the realm of his perception, because it's a 40-year marriage and he believed that was the thing, like this monogamous relationship, and say they might have gotten married in the church. So he believes that it's like this like this good church girl that is his wife, love of his life, all of that, to even contemplate that she finds another man sexually attractive, or that she's been with other guys that he hasn't known about. The longer that relationship has gone on, the more he's going to go into cognitive dissonance. Like if he got into that relationship a week ago and they've only been together 1 week, it's less of a blow for him to realize that maybe it wasn't what it seemed. But you add 40 years to that, and now the cognitive dissonance is way higher, because how many years does he have to reevaluate? How many years of thinking does he have to change his whole perception of stuff? So that's what, when it comes down to these manosphere topics, the older someone is, the longer they've been believing one certain view, the more they're going to be in cognitive dissonance. But we're all in cognitive dissonance to a certain point with everything. But it's about recognizing that, and about being open-minded to, you might be right on certain things, you might be wrong, you might be partially right, partially wrong. Everyone's perspective can be right in their own way, but staying open-minded to the fact that the world may not be what you thought it was.